Us now, Democratic Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island. He is the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Senator, good morning.
Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
What do you think in full cooperation on Gaza means? Does this mean that they've signed a deal on a hotel package, or what? Or any clarification that you could be made aware of?
Well, Michael, the president has declared he wants to engage in the removal of Palestinians under international law as ethnic cleansing, and it's illegal. And then he wants to put United States troops on the ground, which would be a disastrous mistake. The last time we did something like that was in Lebanon, and we lost over 200 Marines. So I think, frankly, it's not quite clear what they're up to, but there's no yet sort of coherent, internationally approved formula for creating a Palestinian state, frankly. Netanyahu has rejected the two-state solution. That's still, I think, the policy in the United States, but Trump seems to say no, that it'll be one state, and that will be, I think, a tragic error in the region.
You know, Senator Reed, you have pushed back on the president's idea of putting American troops in Gaza to the point where you have co-sponsored legislation, a resolution, pardon me, that the United States will not deploy U.S. armed forces to risk United States lives to take over Gaza. What has been the conversation with your Republican colleagues on this particular issue? I know when it comes to the issue of Ukraine, there's some very clear bipartisan work happening. We saw it on camera in the Munich Security Conference this week. But on this particular question and as it relates to what happens in the fate of Gaza, I'm wondering what your colleagues are saying.
I think there's still some internal debate in the Republican caucus about what to do. I don't sense any enthusiasm for committing troops to Gaza. The real question is, what can we do, both ourselves and our international community, to create a stable environment and start rebuilding Gaza? There's some attention on that, but this is primarily the president's initiative. I think he shocked everyone, including my Republican colleagues, when he's announced off the cuff that we would essentially displace all of the Palestinians. And also, I think, very ironically, we'd create summer resorts or Rivieras on the Mediterranean. That's outrageous. And so I think a lot of my colleagues are on the other side, are keeping their heads down on this one.
Senator Reed, pivoting from Israel and Gaza to what is happening with Russia and Ukraine, we have new reporting today. Ukraine has not been involved in the peace talks occurring in Saudi Arabia. An aide close to President Zelensky says that as of Saturday evening, so that's last night, Ukraine has still not been invited to the peace talks between the U.S. and Russia and Saudi Arabia. The aide adds, "It is dangerous to speak with enemies before you speak with allies. Ukraine's position remains unchanged. We need to have a joint position of Ukraine, the U.S., and Europe before any negotiations with Putin." Your response, sir?
I think he's absolutely correct. And the statements made at the Munich Security Conference, first by Secretary Hicks, that were completely inappropriate. You don't give away your leverage in a negotiation before you start the negotiation. And President Vice President Vance's statements, too, were highly, I think, provocative to our European allies and very comforting to Vladimir Putin. This is not a surprise to me. This is exactly what the president did with respect to Afghanistan. He negotiated directly with the Taliban in Doha. He did not involve the Afghan government. And then he's prepared an agreement that in 1 year we'd leave, not only our troops, but all the contracts and everything else. Essentially, he sent the signal to Taliban that you won and just give us room to get out of town. And that is essentially, I think, what he's doing now. And it's going to be horrific for the Ukrainian people. Putin will not only seize more territory, he'll take revenge. And then our European allies are now left sort of alone in many respects. What the president doesn't recognize is one of our greatest strengths from World War II on has been our allies everywhere. And he's just spurning our allies and embracing our adversaries. It's ridiculous, but it's also tragic.
Senator, to that very point, I'd like to let you hear a little bit of Donald Trump and his views of Vladimir Putin on peace.
When Putin says that he really wants peace, do you believe him?
Yeah, I do. I believe he wants peace. I'd love to have him back. I think it was a mistake to throw him out. Look, it's not a question of liking Russia or not liking Russia. It was the G8.
Is that something our allies want, to have Putin back in the G8?
I don't think so. I think the president forgot that Putin conducted an unprovoked attack upon a country. Indeed, in the past, we, together with our Russia and other allies, have guaranteed the sovereignty of the Ukraine after they gave up their nuclear weapons, and we've certainly forgotten that. Putin has. So we're in a situation now where the president is essentially telling our allies, go, you're on your own, and telling Putin, take what you want. That is disruptive, and not just disruptive, it's very, very dangerous.
To say the least dangerous. Senator, if we could take a turn. We've been talking this morning a lot about the National Institutes of Health and what this administration is doing via DOGE to root out waste and fraud, but it just ends up firing people who are doing life-saving work and career civil servants. You have actually joined with researchers in the medical community in Rhode Island to oppose major cuts to life-saving NIH research. Just wondering your thoughts on that we are hearing now this morning, that the uncertainty within NIH. So many people have been fired. Funding has been cut, and we just had someone who represents the union here, Dr. Matt Brown, who said that we asked him after the show was over, we said, do you think more cuts are coming? He said, we don't know what is happening, but they are bracing.
Well, this is a disastrous policy. It is not only undercutting our scientific efforts, it's also damaging and will damage our economy. Here in Rhode Island, we are investing in not only federal dollars, but state dollars and private dollars in becoming a leader in medical research with our hospitals and our medical school. And this undercuts that. And just sort of an example of how the cost is going to impact the United States. One of the major areas we're researching here in Rhode Island is dementia. As this population ages, and it's aging, more and more dementia takes place. That's a very expensive disease. It's expensive not so much in the treatments, but in the custodial care for people. And we're going to spend billions and billions of dollars of doing that unless we find cures or ways to delay the onset of the disease. So this is not just, well, we don't like these scientists and they can pay their own way, et cetera. This goes right to our economy. In fact, Michael was talking before about cutting waste. What they don't do is they don't do a cost-benefit analysis. They don't look at the cost and the benefits, seeing the benefits far outweigh the cost. They just are looking for money for one reason, a tax cut. They want to fund a huge tax cut for the wealthiest Americans, and they will disparage all other Americans. So, when they go after Medicaid, it's going to be poor people in nursing homes and, frankly, middle-income people in nursing homes. And they don't care because they're going to take the money and run. And that is just very difficult to sort of fathom, but also to accept. And we're not going to accept. We're going to push back. People have to know that this is really about, will working Americans have a chance to succeed? We'll be able to defeat inflation. We'll be able to go forward. Right now, he's ignoring all those issues, and he's at the peril of the country.
Senator Jack Reed, thank you for speaking so plainly about the issues this morning and for joining us. We appreciate your time. Next, folks, we will talk with former